The school bus hijacking should have been simple. 3 men, 40 kids, 1 ransom demand. But when they climbed aboard bus 47, they met Susan Martinez, and suddenly the hunters became the hunted. Welcome to the Lost Stories. Before we dive into this incredible story of maternal instinct meeting tactical training, hidden identity and the moment when someone's carefully buried past becomes their greatest strength, tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching today? And if you believe the greatest heroes are the ones protecting our children, hit that subscribe button. These stories matter. Bus 47 rolled through Maple Grove Elementary's pickup zone at exactly 7:15 a.m., just like it had every school day for the past 15 years. Behind the wheel sat Susan Martinez, a woman whose gentle smile and patient demeanor had made her a favorite among both children and parents. At 52, Susan looked exactly like what central casting would order for school bus driver. Graying hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, reading glasses perched on her nose, cardigans, sweaters, and sensible colors. She knew every child's name, remembered their birthdays, and kept a box of tissues and Band-Aids for the inevitable scrapes and tears. "Good morning, Emma," she called to a shy second grader climbing the steps. "How's that loose tooth?" "Still wiggly, Miss Martinez." "Well, save it for the tooth fairy, not for my bus floor," Susan chuckled, checking her mirrors as more children boarded. Route 47 was Susan's domain. 47 stops, 43 regular riders, a precise schedule that got every child safely to school and back home again. She knew which kids needed help with heavy backpacks, which ones got carsick on the curves near Miller Road, and which families were struggling financially. Those kids always seemed to find extra granola bars in the seat pocket beside them. What Susan's passengers didn't know was that she'd chosen this route, this job, this life, very deliberately. After 12 years of high-stress tactical operations with the Metro Police SWAT team, driving a school bus had seemed like the perfect retirement. Quiet, peaceful, predictable. But old habits died hard. Susan still checked her mirrors more frequently than necessary, still noted suspicious vehicles, still positioned her bus for optimal escape routes at every stop. The children thought she was just a cautious driver. In reality, Susan Martinez had never stopped being a cop. Tuesday, October 15th, started like any other day. Susan completed her pre-trip inspection at 6:45 a.m., checked the weather report, clear skies, good visibility, and reviewed her passenger list. 47 children expected to be safely delivered to school. The first hint that something was wrong came at the third stop. A black sedan had been following her route for the past 10 minutes. Not unusual in a school zone, except this car had no child seats, no parent dropping off late assignments, no obvious reason to match her exact pattern of stops and starts. Susan's trained instincts kicked in. She memorized the license plate, noted the number of occupants, 3 males, ages approximately 25-5, and began adjusting her route to confirm surveillance. When the sedan followed her through an unnecessary loop around Oakwood Drive, her suspicions were confirmed. "Something wrong, Miss Martinez?" asked Tyler, a precocious 5th grader who always sat directly behind her. "Nothing to worry about, honey," Susan replied, her voice calm while her mind calculated options. "Just making sure everyone gets to school on time." She reached for her radio to contact dispatch, but the radio crackled with interference, not mechanical failure, deliberate jamming. Someone was blocking communications. That's when Susan knew this wasn't random. This was planned. At the intersection of Pine and Elm, Susan's worst fears materialized. The black sedan accelerated past her bus and stopped directly in front, blocking her path. Behind her, a second vehicle, a gray pickup truck she hadn't noticed, pulled up, boxing her in. "Everyone stay in your seats," Susan announced calmly, her voice carrying an authority the children had never heard before. No talking. The bus fell silent. Even the youngest children sensed something was terribly wrong. 3 men emerged from the vehicle. They moved with purpose but not precision. Dangerous but amateur. Susan analyzed them in seconds. Leader tall, aggressive posture, likely armed. Nervous younger, fidgeting, probably first time. and Quiet older, calm, the one to watch. The leader approached her bus door and gestured for her to open it. Susan complied, knowing that cooperation was her best strategy for keeping the children safe. "Good morning," she said pleasantly as the three men climbed aboard. "Are you gentlemen looking for a particular stop?" The leader laughed nervously. "Very funny, lady. This is a hijacking. Everyone stays calm, nobody gets hurt." Susan nodded as if this were a reasonable request. "I understand. Where would you like me to drive?" Behind her she could hear children beginning to whisper and cry. Emma, the second grader with the loose tooth, was sniffling in seat 4. Tyler, the fifth grader, was trying to comfort his younger sister. Susan's heart rate remained steady. She'd been in similar situations before, not on a school bus but close enough. The principles were the same: assess, adapt, act, drive to the old warehouse district. The leader commanded, settling into the seat directly behind Susan. "And don't try anything heroic." Susan pulled away from the intersection, her movements calm and controlled. "Can I ask what this is about? I want to make sure I understand the situation correctly." Nervous laughed shakily. "She wants to understand the situation. Lady, we've got 40 kids and you. This is about money. Lots of money." "Shut up." Quiet snapped at Nervous. "Too much information." Susan filed that exchange away. Nervous was the weak link. Quiet was the real threat. "I have 47 children on this bus," Susan said evenly. "They have nothing to do with whatever this is about. Can we discuss releasing them?" "Nice try," the leader replied. "Those kids are our insurance policy. Their parents will pay whatever we ask to get them back." In the rearview mirror, Susan saw Tyler raise his hand tentatively. "Ms. Martinez?" "I'm scared." Susan met his eyes in the mirror. "Tyler, remember what I always tell you about field trips?" Tyler nodded. "Stay with the group and listen to instructions." "That's right. Everyone just stay calm and listen to instructions. We're going to be fine." But Susan wasn't talking to Tyler. She was talking to herself, running through tactical protocols she hadn't used in 15 years. As they drove toward the warehouse district, Susan began to implement strategies that would have made her former SWAT commander proud. She drove slightly below the speed limit, giving herself more time to think and observe. She took routes that kept them visible to traffic cameras, and she began talking. "Gentlemen, I need to ask, do any of you have children?" "What kind of question is that?" Nervous demanded. "A practical one," Susan replied. "These kids are going to need bathroom breaks, snacks, water. Emma in seat 4 has diabetes and needs her medication at noon. Tommy in seat 12 gets panic attacks when he's away from his routine too long." She paused at a red light longer than necessary. "I'm trying to help you understand that keeping 47 children captive isn't as simple as it seems." Quiet leaned forward. "You seem awfully calm for someone whose bus just got hijacked." Susan met his eyes in the rearview mirror. "Panic doesn't help anyone. I've been driving these children for 15 years. Their safety is my responsibility. Your responsibility is to do what we tell you." The leader snapped. "Of course," Susan agreed. "But I hope you have a plan for when this gets complicated." Quiet studied her more carefully. There was something about the way she moved, the way she spoke, the way she seemed more concerned with tactical details than personal fear. "Lady, what did you do before you drove a bus?" Susan hesitated for just a fraction of a second, long enough for someone trained to notice. "I worked for the city," she said finally. "Doing what?" Another pause. "Different thing." The abandoned warehouse complex sat on the edge of town like a forgotten promise. Empty loading docks, broken windows, and enough hiding places to make any tactical officer nervous. Susan parked the bus exactly where the leader directed, but she chose her angle carefully. Nose pointed toward the exit, bus positioned to use concrete barriers as cover if needed. "Everyone off the bus," the leader commanded. "Wait." Susan said firmly. These children don't need to leave the bus. It's safer for everyone if they stay here while we discuss your demands. We're not discussing anything, lady. Move. Susan stood slowly, her movements deliberate. Gentlemen, I need you to listen carefully. I've spent 15 years making sure these children get home safely every day. I'm not going to stop now. Something in her tone made all three men pause. It wasn't pleading or fear. It was a statement of absolute fact. You seem to think you're in charge here. Quiet, observed. I'm in charge of these children's safety. Susan corrected. Everything else is negotiable. That's when Nervous made his mistake. Frustrated by Susan's calm demeanor and growing resistance, he reached for his weapon, a pistol tucked awkwardly in his waistband. Susan moved. What happened next took 3.7 seconds and transformed Susan Martinez from school bus driver into the SWAT officer she'd never really stopped being. She grabbed Nervous's wrist as he drew his weapon, using his own momentum to redirect the gun away from the children. Her other hand struck his elbow with precise force, causing him to drop the weapon, which she caught before it hit the floor. The leader tried to intervene but found himself facing the business end of his partner's gun, held by a woman who clearly knew how to use it. Everyone stay very still, Susan said, her voice carrying absolute authority. Children, remain in your seats and keep your eyes forward. Quiet raised his hands slowly. You're not a bus driver. I've been a bus driver for 15 years, Susan replied, never taking her eyes off the three men. Before that, I was Officer Susan Martinez, Metro Police SWAT team. 12 years of tactical operations, hostage situations and armed responses. The leader's face went pale. You're a cop, retired cop, but apparently some skills don't retire. She reached for her cell phone with one hand while keeping the weapon trained on them with the other. The signal was still jammed. They'd been thorough about that. Tyler, she called without turning around. Yes, Miss Martinez. In my bag behind the driver's seat, there's a red emergency radio. Can you turn it on and press the button marked emergency? Tyler's voice was shaky but determined. Yes, ma'am. The radio crackled to life, and suddenly Susan was connected to police dispatch for the first time in 15 years. This is retired Officer Susan Martinez, badge 4271, requesting immediate assistance at the Riverside Warehouse Complex. I have a Code Adam situation with 47 minors and 3 suspects in custody. The dispatcher's voice came through clearly. Officer Martinez, we show you as retired, correct, but I still remember the protocol. Within minutes, the warehouse complex was surrounded by every available unit in the county. Susan's former colleagues from SWAT arrived to find her holding 3 would-be kidnappers at gunpoint, while 47 children sat quietly on the bus, exactly where she'd told them to stay. Captain Rodriguez, Susan's old commander, approached the bus with a mixture of disbelief and pride. Martinez, when you retired, you said you wanted a quiet job. Susan smiled, still holding the weapon steady. Captain, driving a school bus is usually very quiet. Usually, every job has its exciting days. After the suspects were taken into custody and the children were safely reunited with their parents, Susan found herself in familiar surroundings, the police station's briefing room, giving a statement about tactical decisions and threat assessment. Susan, Captain Rodriguez said, reviewing her report, you've been driving a school bus for 15 years. Why didn't you ever mention you missed the action? Susan looked through the window at bus 47, where crime scene technicians were documenting evidence. Captain, I didn't miss the action. I missed the purpose. What do you mean? When I was SWAT, I protected strangers. Important work, but strangers nonetheless. For the past 15 years, I've been protecting Emma and Tyler and 45 other children who trust me with their lives every single day. She paused. Today wasn't about returning to police work. It was about being the person those children needed me to be. Captain Rodriguez nodded slowly. The department could use someone with your experience. Training position, maybe consultant work. Susan shook her head. Thank you, but I have a job. 47 children are expecting their bus driver to pick them up tomorrow morning. The next morning, Susan arrived at the bus depot 30 minutes early, just as she had every day for 15 years. Bus 47 had been thoroughly inspected and cleared for service. The route was the same. The schedule was the same, but everything felt different. At the first stop, Emma climbed aboard with her mother close behind. Ms. Martinez, Emma's mother said, tears in her eyes, I don't know how to thank you. Susan smiled. You don't need to thank me. I was just doing my job. Your job is driving a school bus. No, Susan corrected gently, my job is making sure your daughter gets home safely. Everything else is just details. As more children boarded, they looked at Susan with new eyes. She was still the same gentle, patient woman who remembered their names and kept band-aids for scraped knees. But now they knew something else. She was also the person who would protect them no matter what. Tyler was the last to board, carrying a handmade card signed by all 47 children. What does it say? Susan asked. Tyler cleared his throat and read, to Ms. Martinez, the best bus driver and the bravest person we know. Thank you for keeping us safe. Love, your kids. Susan had to wipe her eyes before she could start the engine. Susan Martinez continued driving bus 47 for 3 more years before finally retiring at 55. During that time, she became something of a legend in the community. Not because of the hijacking, but because of how she'd handled it. Parents felt safer knowing their children rode bus 47. The school district quietly implemented some of her security suggestions, and Susan never had to use her tactical training again, though everyone knew she could if necessary. When she finally did retire, the 47 children from that October day, now high school students, organized a farewell celebration. They presented her with a plaque that read, Officer Susan Martinez, Guardian, Driver. Susan kept the plaque on her mantle, but she treasured something else more. 47 graduation announcements over the years. Each one signed, thank you for keeping me safe, or I made it because of you. The new driver who took over Bus 7 was competent and kind, but the children never forgot the woman who had shown them that real heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes they wear cardigans and carry emergency band-aids, ready to protect the people they love with whatever skills they possess. Some people serve and protect by walking a beat or responding to emergency calls. Others serve and protect by making sure 47 children start each day feeling safe, valued, and cared for. Officer Susan Martinez traded her badge for a bus schedule, but she never stopped being a guardian. She simply found a different way to serve, one that involved more patience, more tenderness, and the same unwavering commitment to protecting the innocent. The greatest heroes aren't always the ones who seek danger. Sometimes they're the ones who create safety in a dangerous world, one careful mile at a time. So I ask you, have you ever met someone like Susan? Someone whose quiet competence and gentle strength suggested depths you never imagined? Someone who made you feel safer just by being present? Share their story in the comments. Let us know what city you're watching from. And remember to subscribe to the Lost Stories, because sometimes the most powerful stories happen on the most ordinary day. Until next time, when you see a school bus driver, remember, you might be looking at someone who has devoted their life to the most important mission of all, making sure someone's children come home safely every single day. And in a world full of dangers we can't control, that might be the most heroic calling of all.